Do you ever feel like the harder you chase something, the faster it runs away? You visualize, you write your affirmations, you work harder than anyone around you. You're doing all the things they say you're supposed to do, and yet it still feels out of reach. I used to be stuck feeling like that too, and wondering why. If I wasn't constantly working towards some kind of goal, I felt like I wasn't in control, and my suffering was just the price tag for success. But what if I told you the key to getting everything you want is to stop trying so hard to get it? I know, it sounds backwards, right? Yes, but stay with me. Because when I finally stopped gripping so tightly to my expectations, when I let go of the timelines, the pressure, the idea that I had to earn everything through struggle, that's when a real shift happened. People started showing up. Opportunities that aligned with me started flowing in. And that's when I found peace. So if trying harder hasn't been working for you, maybe it's time to try to surrender instead. Hi, my name is Christy. I'm a board certified nurse practitioner, health coach, and trauma survivor. This is Trauma Free, where I help you change your mind and change your life, just like I did. So if you're ready to stop forcing and start flowing, let's get into it. Let's talk about something I call the expectation hangover. You know that emotional crash you get after you've achieved something you swore would change your life? That job, that relationship, that perfect body, or even that follower count. You worked so hard for it. You visualized it. You pushed through fear and all kinds of obstacles. And when you finally got it, you didn't feel fulfilled. You felt flat, maybe even a little empty, or worse, disappointed in yourself for not feeling grateful enough. That's the expectation hangover, when the emotional high you expected never comes or doesn't last, and you're left wondering what went wrong. There's a name for this in psychology called affective forecasting, which basically states humans are notoriously bad at predicting what will actually make us happy because people tend to overestimate both the strength and the duration of their emotional reactions. We assume if I get the promotion, I'll finally feel successful. If I get married by 30, I'll finally feel secure. If I hit six figures, I'll finally feel like I made it. But here's what happens: you get the thing, and the rush is short lived. The glow fades, and the next milestone suddenly appears. You're back at square one, on the grind, chasing the next fix. That's what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. It's when you get caught up in a loop where no matter how much progress you make, your brain adapts and just keeps resetting the standard. You keep achieving, but you never arrive. And I lived this. I told myself, if I just do more, then I'll achieve more, and I'll prove to myself that I am more. Then I'll feel enough. But the more I accomplished, the more disconnected I felt. I was building a life that looked amazing on paper, but instead I felt tired, numb, and detached from what truly mattered to me. If you're wondering why we get stuck here, it's because of something called cognitive dissonance. It's a psychological theory that suggests when your reality doesn't match your expectations, your brain experiences discomfort. So it tries to resolve that discomfort by forcing the narrative to still make sense, which causes you to cling towards belief like, I should be further along by now. If I don't get this, I'm failing at life. Or I've worked so hard, why don't I feel the way I thought I would? But here's the truth: we're not really attached to our outcomes. We're attached to the feeling we think that outcome will give us, the comfort, the validation, the sense of safety. And when that feeling doesn't come, your nervous system scrambles. It would rather protect the illusion than admit the truth that maybe what you were chasing wasn't actually aligned with your true self. And here's the crazy part: comfort zones might feel safe, but they will quietly kill your dreams. They keep you in cycles of settling, striving, and self doubt. They stop you from seeing that you're already enough, with or without the next milestone. So if you've been chasing something and it still doesn't feel right, it's not because you failed. It might be because you're trying to force a life that was never meant to be yours. And that realization, that's where the real changes begin. So let's go a little deeper. Have you ever wanted someone or something so badly that it started to consume you? That kind of intense craving where you're constantly checking your phone, rehearsing conversations in your head, or refreshing your inbox like your life depends on that one response. Yeah, I've been there too, and I didn't get it. Now I can say that was a good thing, but at that time, it felt devastating. Desire is natural, it's part of being human, but unregulated desire, which is attached to a specific outcome or timeline, can quickly turn into desperation. And desperation never attracts what you want, it repels it. Because your desires are not rooted in trust, alignment, or readiness. They're rooted in lack, fear, and emotional scarcity. When you want something too much, whether it's a relationship, a job, or validation, you stop seeing it clearly. You start projecting what you need it to be instead of what it really is. Think about it. That person, you overlook the red flags. That job you ignore, that's sucking the life out of your soul, and that goal that you forced it to mean everything when it's just one piece of the puzzle, this can cause some detrimental effects to your brain. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for clear thinking, decision making, and logic, starts to shut down, and your amygdala, the brain's fear center, starts to light up, warning you of danger. You go into survival mode. You start reacting instead of responding. You confuse urgency for importance, chemistry for compatibility, ambition for alignment. And more times than often, you're not even emotionally ready for what you're asking for. Now let that process. It's not that you don't deserve the thing, it's that you may not have the capacity yet to even handle it. Here's why this happens. Because you have deep rooted fear of failure or success. You say you want that dream job, but deep down, you're afraid you'll mess it up or lose it. Or misaligned priorities. You're chasing goals that were handed to you by society, family, or social media. They're not even yours. And emotional immaturity or unhealed wounds. You think love will fix your loneliness or money will fix your self worth, but those are inner voids, not outer problems. So, what's the solution? It's not about lowering your standards, it's about upgrading your emotional maturity. Because when you chase from a place of emptiness, you attract lessons instead of blessings. That's why letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It means you trust that what's meant for you will find you when you're truly ready to receive it. Letting go isn't giving up, it's growing up. And when you grow into the version of you who's emotionally, mentally, and spiritually ready, that's when everything starts aligning without force. If you've ever felt stuck in a spiral of overthinking, self doubt, or emotional burnout, you might be giving too many F's to things that don't actually deserve them. Well, let me introduce you to two powerful frameworks that changed the game for me and might just change it for you too. The ABC model. This model comes from rational emotive behavior therapy, created by psychologist Dr. Albert Ellis, one of the founders of cognitive behavioral therapy. It breaks down emotional reactions into three parts. A is the activating event. Something happens, like you get rejected, someone criticizes you, or plans fall through. B is the belief. You interpret what the event means. Examples would be I'm not good enough, they don't respect me. C equals the consequence. Your emotional reaction based on that belief. It could be shame, anxiety, hopelessness. So, what does this mean? It's not the event that causes your suffering. It's your belief about the event. For instance, you don't get that job you wanted so badly. That's the event. You tell yourself, I'm not good enough. That's the belief. And now you feel discouraged and stuck. and that's the consequence. But if you shift that belief to, maybe that job wasn't aligned with me and my current path, I'll get the job that's right for me, that will see my value, then your emotional response changes completely. Forget about forced positivity. This is about becoming the CEO of your thoughts. Let's talk about when ancient meets modern. In Stoic philosophy, the idea of detachment isn't about being numb or indifferent. It's about freeing yourself from being emotionally handcuffed to outcomes you can't control. This mindset builds emotional resilience, and science backs this up. A 2019 study revealed something counterintuitive. People who made peace with imperfection actually won in the long run because they showed 40% less stress and more mental agility and deeper life satisfaction years later. When you stop trying to control every outcome, you gain the ability to adapt, breathe, and respond instead of react. This is where it gets real. Think of your energy, time, and emotional tolerance like a battery. You only have so much to use for each day, and every time you overinvest in things, like worrying about stuff that's out of your control, seeking approval from people who drain you, or chasing perfectionism and obsessing over the timeline, you are draining your emotional battery on things that will deplete you even more. When you say yes to one thing, you're automatically saying no to something else. So spend your energy wisely. So let me be clear. You are allowed to care, but you don't have to care about everything. For this reason, choose your F's wisely. This isn't about becoming careless. It's about becoming conscious. It's not detachment from life. It's detachment from the illusion that you need to control every detail in order to be okay. And that shift, that's where real freedom starts. Detachment isn't about giving up. It's about giving your nervous system a break so your life can actually breathe. Let's talk about how to let go without losing your ambition, goals, or drive. Because contrary to what we've been taught, letting go doesn't mean becoming passive. It means becoming emotionally available to what's real, not just what's ideal. So here's your three-part toolkit to detach from what drains you so you can move towards what aligns with you. Step 1. Audit your F's. This is your energetic spending plan. Take 5 minutes. Write down 5 things you're stressed about or emotionally tied to. Now ask yourself for each one, do I really value this or was I taught to? Does this align with my future self or am I stuck in a role I've outgrown? Am I spending energy out of fear, guilt, or habit? You'd be surprised how often we're running on autopilot, living out scripts that were handed to us and not chosen by us. Letting go starts with realizing what you've been holding on to that never even belonged to you anyway. Step 2. Practice negative visualization. Sounds unreasonable, right? But this one is one of the most powerful tools for mental clarity because visualizing worst case scenarios instead of avoiding them reduces anxiety and builds psychological resilience. This technique comes from ancient Stoics like Seneca. They believed that by imagining loss, rejection, or failure, we expose the illusion of control. We reduce the fear that paralyzes us and realize even if the worst happens, we'll still be okay. So try it. What if I don't get that dream job? What if they don't like me? What if I never get the closure I'm waiting for? Now go deeper. What would I do? Who would I become? And guess what? You'll survive. You will adapt and you'll learn to trust yourself instead of outcomes. Step 3. Set good enough standards. Let's talk about perfectionism, the silent killer of peace. In The Paradox of Choice, Barry Schwartz explains how too many options and impossible standards lead to decision fatigue and emotional paralysis. So when we chase perfect, we delay our progress. And when we constantly raise the bar, we never feel done. Instead of asking, is this the best? Ask, is this good enough to move forward? Your brain and body don't thrive on pressure, they thrive on momentum. So stop chasing perfection and start celebrating done. Because small steps taken consistently beat grand gestures you can't sustain. You don't have to stop caring, you just have to stop clinging. Letting go isn't lazy, it's liberating. And it's saying, I'm available for what's meant for me. I'm not chasing what's draining me. Let's bring it all down to earth. Because this mindset shift, detachment, surrender, emotional clarity, it's not just some spiritual concepts. It's highly practical. It reshapes how you show up in everyday life. Let's look at two of the biggest areas where we manifest or misalign based on how tightly we're gripping. In work, let go of passion pressure. You've probably heard it. Follow your passion and you'll never work a day in your life. But research shows that advice might be misleading. In So Good They Can't Ignore You, author Cal Newport argues that the obsession with finding your passion often leads people to quit too early, chase quick wins, or never develop deep skills. Here's what science says instead. Mastery creates meaning. When you commit to getting better at something, even if it's not your dream job, you begin to experience autonomy, purpose, and pride. That's when passion shows up, not at the beginning, but as a result of growing through discomfort. So instead of obsessing over what you should be doing, ask yourself, what can I get better at today? What problems do I care enough to solve? Fulfillment doesn't come from chasing a dream. It comes from building value, then realizing you've become valuable. Let's talk about one of the biggest emotional traps, falling in love with potential. You see glimmers of who someone could be. You fall for the fantasy version of them, and then get hurt when reality doesn't measure up. Couples who focused on mutual acceptance, that are not trying to fix or change one another, reported higher levels of emotional connection, long term satisfaction, and lower conflict levels. Because trying to change someone isn't love, it's control. So the question to ask yourself is, do I accept them as they are? Does who they are now support who I'm becoming? Letting go of expectations in love doesn't mean lowering your standards. It means trusting your values more than your vision. Because real alignment isn't about who they could be, it's about who they actually show up as, consistently, without you trying to mold them. When you stop overinvesting in fantasies, in your career, your love life, or your identity, you reclaim your power. Because alignment doesn't come from clinging, it comes from clarity. Let go of what you think should be, so you can make room for what actually is. If you're holding on to a version of the future that hasn't happened yet, you're robbing yourself of the present. Detachment reduces amygdala overactivation, feelings of fear and urgency, and activates your prefrontal cortex with logic, alignment, and emotional regulation. That's how you go from force to flow. So ask yourself, what's one expectation you're ready to release this week? Drop it in the comments with I let go. Like this video if it hit home. And subscribe to Trauma Free for grounded wisdom backed by neuroscience, compassion, and real life healing. And remember, you're not giving up, you're creating space. And sometimes not giving a F is the most loving thing you can do for yourself.